I want a commander-in-chief who will do everything in their power to ensure that the threat from radical Islamic terrorists do not wash up on American soil. We will have someone who leads and ultimately will send a message not only that we will protect American soil, but do not take this upon freedom-loving people anywhere else in the world. We need a leader with that kind of confidence. If I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same across the world.
You know what protesters he's talking about? He's talking about blue-collar American workers. He's talking about middle-class people, middle-class Americans, who didn't like his anti-union bill, which decreases the pay of everybody $1,500 on average and gets rid of benefits. He just compared middle-class Americans to ISIS. ISIS! He's so stupid. You know, I overestimated Scott Walker early on. I really did. I thought that because he's like this low-profile, really boring guy, that if he runs for president, and now at this point when he runs for president, that he could, like, you know, sneak up from behind as the establishment candidate and raise a shitload of money and, you know, find a way to pull a Romney and get the nomination and see what happens in the general election. But I overestimated his intelligence, probably because I didn't hear him speak all that much before. When you hear him speak there, you're like, oh, you're really stupid. He's so sad. Now, when asked to clarify later on, he made it worse. He said the following, quote, "Let me be perfectly clear. I'm just pointing out the closest thing I have to handling this difficult situation is the 100,000 protesters I had to deal with. That's our point, dipshit! Our point is you have zero foreign policy experience. You have zero experience outside of your state either way, and you don't know anything. It's one thing if you don't have foreign policy experience, but you actually know quite a bit about international politics. That's fine. That's totally okay. But with this comment here, it just makes it look like you're wildly flailing, and you're a silly person who's trying to fool everybody into thinking that you have the skills to be president, when in reality what you're banking on is the establishment pushing you forward to become, you know, the face of what they're going to do behind the scenes. Just a George W. Bush puppet-style president. I love how he says that, and he thinks that makes his point. When he's like, what do you mean? I'm only pointing to the fact that the closest I've ever been to fighting ISIS is having to fight protesters. Right? That doesn't help your case, you idiot. He says, you all will misconstrue things the way you see fit. That's the closest thing I have in terms of handling a difficult situation. Not that there's any parallel between the two, except you just made a parallel between the two. And then, oh, the unions. The unions heard this and they said, yummy in my tummy. We are going to pounce. So the AFL-CIO released a statement and they said, quote, to compare the hundreds of thousands of teachers, students, grandmothers, veterans, correctional officers, nurses, and all the workers who came out to peacefully protest and stand together for their rights as Americans to ISIS is disgusting and unacceptable. To compare hardworking men and women who work for a living to terrorists is a disgrace. Coming together to peacefully protest for freedom, to raise your voice for a better Wisconsin, this is not an act of terror. How can you can't argue against that? You can't argue against that. Scott Walker, I have some advice for you. Stop. Just stop. You're going to end up making a fool of yourself. You're going to end up pulling a Rick Perry. This is the exact same thing happened with Rick Perry before he ran for the first time. Everybody's like, oh, Rick Perry might get in the race. Oh, he would be a force to contend with. I mean, the state of Texas has some decent job numbers right now, and seems like everything's going okay over there. And, you know, he hasn't said much yet, and he might run for president. And look out, he'll be the front runner. The polls show he's the front runner. Oh, he opened his mouth, and he's a moron. Yeah, we can't even as the Republican base is still like, we'll pass. Scott Walker's same thing. Oh, governor. He's a governor. The state seems to be doing okay. He's a quiet guy, but look at the polls. All right, he might be leading in some of the polls. Oh, he might get in the race. Oh yeah, this guy's stupid too. Did he just compare middle-class workers to ISIS?